can start. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on your location. This is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and I'm privileged to have with me my fellow Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer, Adejoke Damibola, ACIPM, and she's going to be speaking on the subject matter, leadership and business process improvement. How are you today, my friend?
Very well, thank you, Coach Adegoke. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to also be on this call. Thank you.
Awesome. I know you've been on this podcast before, so
yes, I have.
I believe that we're going to be adding value as usual, and our listeners are waiting to, tap into the wealth of knowledge that you have. The last time you spoke with so much depth and clarity, and I have no doubt that you're going to do the same today.
Yeah.
Now, let's speak to this subject matter. What is business process improvement?
Oh, that's very good. So business process improvement is just the way work is done in a simpler and a faster and consistent way.
Okay.
And it has, the business process improvement allows you to, to remove the dependency on individual effort. That's just a simple explanation of what business process improvement is. Things are done faster, it's done more in a more consistent manner and less dependent on individuals. That's what business process improvement is.
Okay, all right. Now, what's the connection between leadership and business improvement? Where do they meet?
Okay, so a lot of people think that leadership is just about motivation, guiding and sort of inspiring people. But if you look at in the context of leadership and business process improvement, you will find out that, they are inseparable. Because as a leader, if you're guiding people, you're inspiring people, or you're sort of mentoring people, they need to have some clarity. You need to have a process that is consistent, that allows them to be the best, to come out as the best version of themselves. Wow. And that's the link between the leadership and business process improvement. People need to understand, they have clarity and on what they need to do. They need to know what exactly they need to do. So for example, you've hired somebody as a leader, or you have somebody you are guiding, or for example, you have hired somebody. Let's use that example. And the person comes and doesn't know exactly what he needs to do. Because there's nothing on ground, absolutely nothing on ground for him to be able to settle in. And that's where that process comes in. So that every time you hire somebody, then there's a consistent method of, onboarding that person.
Okay.
It could be a client, it could be an employee, it could be a client if you're in services. So it's that's consistent and simple way of just doing things, making it faster. So you already have a process in place. You hire somebody, that person knows on the very first day exactly what he needs to do. That's just an example of what the leadership and process improvement, why they are inseparable. You cannot separate them.
Awesome. Well done. Quite refreshing perspective. For our listeners, if you just joined us, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and we're looking at business process improvement and leadership. And with me is a fellow Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach, Adejoke Damibola, ACIPM. Now, what are the goals of BPI, business process improvement? What are the goals?
Okay, so for a business process improvement, like I said earlier, just enables you to have a consistent process, consistency in whatever deliverables you are giving, whether to your customers, whether to, anybody you are interfacing with. So it just gives you like a consistent way of doing things. And every time anybody comes to you, they actually, because you have a process in place and it's consistently being improved all the time, because as you grow, or as a leader, as you expand or your horizon, as you grow, you just find out that the process that is already in place, that you have put in place for that consistent experience that people need to have when they come to you. You find out that by people coming to you, sometimes you also need to update it. You need to improve in that improve that process to make it better. And that's what process improvement is all about.
Okay.
So some of the things that it just gives everybody that comes to you, number one, a consistent experience.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So it
well,
gives,
let me just add
yes,
to
go on.
what you, because from what you're saying, I believe that you're saying that it reduces cost, it speeds up the process,
Yes,
helps with customer satisfaction, and generally improves compliance,
exactly.
Yeah,
It
awesome.
improves compliance. It just generally helps you to be aligned, you are guided. It's a process that allows you, to have a guidance on the path, on the way that you want to go. So it reduces, so once if there's a process improvement in place and you're implementing it, like you said earlier, it reduces your cost, because then you already know. For example, if you have a business, or you already know that you don't need to hire more people. Yes, because everybody knows exactly what they're doing. So sometimes it's not about getting more people or doing or expanding, because you already know that this process is in place. Don't forget that process improvement allows you to also know what to do, and to be consistent in your in what is being done. So
Wow.
it allows you to understand that, oh, I don't really need to have more people. I just need to have this in place, and things begin to move, with less people, with less number of people, because we already set a process in place that the ones that are on ground already can follow. They understand it. There's clarity.
Awesome, awesome. So it boosts productivity.
It boosts productivity, and at the end of the day, it boosts productivity. It reduces your cost,
Customer
and it helps
satisfaction
people
as
that
well.
come to you, customer satisfaction, and people come to you, they have a
Yeah,
consistent experience is
yeah,
something that you cannot take away, because
consistent.
when you have people coming to you all the time,
Mm.
and the first person has a different experience, it's somehow chaotic.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
somehow chaotic. So
Mm.
business improvement allows you to have that consistency
Consistency. Well
along the
done,
way.
well
Yeah.
done. Okay, so next question. Coach, you are really firing. You're really firing at the moment. Yeah, thank you so much for adding value. Now, what's the cycle? How is it done, in terms of the cycle?
When you mean the cycle,
Yes, I mean,
for
it follows a
example,
cycle, the process, the path.
okay.
Maybe in terms of
So for you
also,
to have,
yeah, go ahead.
so for you to, you just, for you to have a process, you first of all need to have clarity, right?
Yeah,
You need to have a clarity about exactly what area do you need this improvement.
yeah.
So you need to have a clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, is it in the onboarding process? Is what is, and there are so many processes that can be in place in an organization or for a
Okay,
leader. As
okay,
a leader in an organization, you can have different processes, maybe the hiring process or
okay,
different things happen,
okay,
or a project and all that. So you first of all need to have clarity. Then
okay.
you need to, with that clarity in terms of how do we want to achieve, productivity. How do you want to make our productivity better?
Mm,
How do you want to serve our customer consistently, having the best experience that they can have? How do you want to have processes in place that people would then depend less on individuals? Things
mm,
don't sit in individuals' brain.
mm,
People don't have all the knowledge in their brain.
mm.
They
So
something is
are
documented.
you talking about in terms of the design, in terms of
The
automation?
design,
Yeah, the
yeah,
steps
the
that
design.
yeah, okay,
Sometimes not necessarily a big automation process.
okay,
Because when people talk about business improvement, people think, oh, it's going to be a big automation process. No, it's something simple as an SOP, a standard operating process.
okay. Procedure
That
as well.
guides, yes,
Okay,
procedures, standard operating procedures, yes,
okay.
SOP, and that
Okay,
guides people.
so no, sorry to bump in, how about the role of, artificial intelligence, when you look at business process improvement, does it have any impact or, would you like to speak to that briefly?
Yes, it does. And these days we have a lot of this artificial intelligence, which is helping, it's actually helping. But
Mm,
at a point, there's at a point you cannot completely leave out. They can help you. You can also, artificial intelligence can also support you, but
mm.
you cannot leave out
The
the
human
other,
side.
the human side of
Mm,
it. Whilst we are trying to reduce, the human effort that goes into doing things, especially with repetitive
mm,
tasks.
mm.
With repetitive tasks, there's a way you can actually automate and improve that process.
Okay, but how about the importance of monitoring, continuously to make sure that, you are still getting the desired results? Monitoring.
So monitoring is also very important.
Yeah.
Monitoring is important because you are checking. You're also checking that it's actually working for your business. For your business. Somebody is actually checking that this is working. Okay. So we cannot throw away that part of monitoring as well. Yeah, we can't throw that away in process improvement, because we need to monitor. We also need to check the performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Review, evaluate.
Review, evaluate, and all that. So at every point in time, we're reviewing, we're evaluating, and that's what makes it. So we're constantly improving by evaluating, by checking, and all those other things. And the performance, we're also seeing areas where there could be improvements in the process.
Beautiful, beautiful. So consistency. Now, which takes us to the next question, Coach.
Yes.
I believe that even for our listeners, they're learning as much as possible. They're leaning in, rather, Yes. So now, what are the common methods of BPI, business process improvements? Even for a leader, what are the common methods? I know there's the Six Sigma.
Lean, Six Sigma. There's the Six Sigma, the Lean.
Okay.
And some other methods. There's another one that starts with now can't.
I know there's the Kaizen.
Kaizen. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. The Kaizen, the Lean, and those are some of the methods. But sometimes I like those methods, especially the Six Sigma, the Lean. The Lean, most times, you're looking at how to cut costs, how to reduce costs, and that has happened. And some of the organization that I have worked previously, we've used that process, the Lean method, because we're always consistently looking for process improvement. And sometimes our process improvement is asking us, you need to reduce costs. But it has its own disadvantages.
Yeah.
Yes, but it has its own disadvantage. And sometimes I argue about that a lot, because at a point of trying to improve the process, you're telling me to reduce costs. At what point does it benefit me if I'm reducing headcount? Like I'm cutting, I'm getting leaner. It's a good process, but at a point it also has its disadvantages. And so some of this processes that we've mentioned here, in terms of process improvement, how the Lean, the Sigma, and all that. Some of these things also they're very good. They're very good when you want to reduce, want to optimize, and all that.
Coach, the example that comes to mind is that of Meta recently, that they had to lay off about 7,000 staff. That's quite a huge number, in terms of the human resource, and when you look at it, they want to be lean and more effective and
more efficient. Yes, so they want to be lean
because
and more
artificial intelligence are taking over some roles. Yes,
like some of the repetitive tasks that I said, those repetitive tasks can actually be automated, and it gives you it helps you to cut down on maybe the people that are actively working on it previously. So for example, 10 people that were doing a certain task, a repetitive task, which can actually be automated. So the cost of the automation is what you get at once. You get the cost of the automation, you buy that in once, but then you reduce the number of employees who have been doing that task, and then you at a point you get the return on investment actually, by letting people go. And then automating it. So some repetitive, and there's a lot of scare about repetitive tasks that are being automated. And it's also a sort of process improvement, or the repetitive tasks that are now automated is a way of improving your processes, because then somebody doesn't have to sit and do the same thing day in, day out without thinking. Then the automation, it goes into automation, it just runs itself. So the initial cost is the cost of just getting that automation system. And then that's the one-off cost.
But I know you also highlighted that, we're not trying to say that the human side is not important, but, to make sure that we are more productive.
To make sure we're more productive, we're more efficient.
Customer satisfaction, cut costs,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And you see in that. So for example, now I like to say this quickly.
Yeah.
Just don't please don't mind me.
Okay.
So I know that there are some shared services. So there's some right now, and it's been happening for quite a while. And people, the interface, there's some interface now that they're just chatbots that are
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Most
Yeah.
most organizations now use the chatbots, I mean,
Yeah. So
you're talking to, a machine, and
you're
know,
talking to a machine,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's answering you back
yeah.
because it's been programmed in a certain way.
Even for their customer service, yeah, even
Thank
for
you.
feedback, everything, So within
Exactly.
the
Even for
space of
feedback,
about 5 minutes, everything has been resolved, issues have been resolved,
it's
and it's
done.
24
It's
hours,
done. And it's 24 hours. So
Mm,
instead of you having previously we used to have people sits, for customer service and they're working shifts.
mm,
Now nobody, I mean, a lot of companies are then improving their processes to say we're having this automation thing, you don't have to have people running shifts back and forth, and we're paying them for it, inconvenience and all that.
wow,
So it's part
wow,
of the process, and a lot of organizations are also leaning into this sort of thing,
mm,
reducing numbers, like you said, Meta,
yeah,
reducing the numbers, automating and all that. But eventually, the automation would actually, it will work for certain things, but it may not work for other things.
I know.
And so organizations need to, actually think about that
Think
as well.
ahead. All right.
Think
Okay.
ahead.
So, Coach, we just have two more questions.
Okay.
Um, Thank you for the depth and the clarity that you have brought to this subject matter, and we appreciate you. If you just joined us, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and we have on the platform this episode Adejoke Damibola, ACIPM. She's a John Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and she's also a thought leader in the area of business process improvement. Now, as we wrap up, what are the benefits? Two benefits for leaders. BPI, yes.
Leaders need to understand that leadership is not just about communication, motivation, guiding, and all
All
that.
right.
They also need to know that you're talking to people, you're engaging people, and they need to have the best experience from you. So, for example, I'll now use this as an example as well. You're coaching, you're a thought leader, and you're coaching people. You need to have, so you're onboarding people. People need to have a consistent experience with you. They need to know exactly what they're going to get from you. This doesn't just come by just having things in your brain. It comes by putting things down in sequence, in a process. So as a leader, if you're leading people, you need to allow them to understand that where you're going, that they have clarity. They need to have clarity, but they cannot have clarity because some information are sitting in your brain. And anything that sits in your brain that is not documented down or put in a process,
To make
doesn't
it more
it's
productive.
haphazard to make it more productive. So you allow people to, as a leader, you need to make every contact that you have, whether you're guiding them, you're motivating them, you're inspiring them or anything, they need to have, that, they need to see that there's a consistent process in place, that what you're doing. You're not just pulling things out of your brain every time. Because
Awesome.
there's a limit to what the brain can actually pick. You may know everything, but when you document it, when you put it in
Awesome.
a sequence, then
Excellent.
it's easier for people to
Excellent.
follow.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you so much. On this note, Coach, if our listeners want to reach you, how do they reach you?
Okay, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn at Adejoke Damibola. And I am on Instagram. I speak on Instagram about also about improving your processes and all the other things we've spoken
Fantastic.
about here.
Fantastic.
So I'm on LinkedIn as Adejoke Damibola as well.
Fantastic.
For now, that's it. Hopefully I would also expand as time goes on.
Thank
But
you
you can
so
reach me
much.
on Instagram and you can reach me on LinkedIn.
There you go. There you go. You've heard it from the coach, the BPI coach, business process improvement coach, Adejoke Damibola, ACIPM, and also a fellow Maxwell leadership coach, speaker, and trainer on another episode of Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And we've looked at the subject matter, leadership and business process improvement. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And
Thank
until the
you.
same time, next time, we wish you a very wonderful day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
good day. Bye.
Thank you.